This is where we are so far. So it's terribly corny out on the ocean. That's Amy, she's in charge. She's the mate. Disobey her at your peril.
So John, you stop and just catch them up so it's a bit more information. Alright,
So this little bit of music suits me, it fits quite well. Yeah. Waiting for the red arrows in Falmouth, they never turned up. The goal. I'm Phil here, boring, and we're on board the outskirts of Pegasus, courtesy. Come on. Play for me.
This is the easy to use one, is it?
That's one.
Would you risk going sailing with him?
I'm thinking about it.
Oh, yeah? The boat would just...
Oh, I see what you mean. I think. It's alright, it's an old-fashioned phone.
We'll go back to the beginning and right, okay. Simon, you're the expert. Why is it not doing it? Is it something to do with it being on the projector? Or? Ah! Aha! Right, okay. And they finish somewhere between lunchtime and mid-afternoon on the following Friday. Right, there we go. So, it's the next bit of sequences. So I'm bored by now with Haste to the Wedding and all that kind of stuff. So here's a few clips of what it's like to be on Pegasus or a single boat. Sailing from Plymouth to Falmouth, perfect conditions, and suddenly we're in Falmouth. Yeah. I rather like the look of that boat, it's beautiful. Got down to Falmouth late on Tuesday. John Henry Spring, old friend of mine, he's an old sea dog, plays a bit of fiddle. So I'll keep this in, this soundtrack built in. But here we are about to learn a tune. It's called Falmouth Polka. Old tune from Falmouth. I like this shot because it's John Henry who's 76 and the kids who are 13 and 17. Okay, so that's the kind of stuff that goes on. I mean, it's not just massed fiddle players that happen to be, you know, all of those kids play fiddle, John Henry plays fiddle, and so that's what that session happened to be. This stuff is completely open-ended. Probably the thing that people most enjoy are the sing-songs, really. Anyway, that's irrelevant. It's the tune I'm interested in, because it's the Falmouth polka, so it's one of the ones that I teach people if we're in West Country waters anyway. But it's a really nice tune, and I don't have a recorded version of it, a proper recorded version of it. So what I need now to do, in order probably to use it as a background for the whole of the rest of the film, and obviously we'll use that sequence, I will cut it down a good bit, you know, or, you know, like 2 minutes of people scraping away, oh, that infernal scraping will never stop, etc. But I want just a good version of that tune to underpin a whole more set of sequences, okay? So those of you who were here 2 years ago will remember that I sort of demonstrated the basics of multi-track recording, which is you play something and you listen back to it and you play with yourself, and you listen back to that and you play with yourself again. So you build up a track. So what we're going to do is make now a 2-minute version of the Falmouth polka, that tune, in which I'll play the melody on the fiddle, then I'll put a guitar accompaniment to it, and then I'll probably just take the mandolin or maybe the bass fiddle and put some harmony part to it, and that will be a complete track. I work quite fast, so you know, if I ever wanted to use this track in the future on some kind of record, it would be good enough for that purpose. The recording quality is good enough, but in this instance, I want it to underpin the rest of this film. And that's as far as we're going to go with this film, because it's just a good example to use. We will immediately move on to all the clips that we've done of Herstmonceux, and we'll start from scratch, as I say, and we will collectively make up the music to go with the Herstmonceux film. And as long as I get it finished by tea time, we'll have it up on YouTube by 6 o'clock this evening, you see. With, you know, with the cast of thousands, as it were. So, simple as that, my dear. So let's get here, and we'll get out of iMovie all together for a moment. And we will invoke Pro Tools. Okay, so, you know, most of you have no option but to use computers in your lives somewhere along the line, so therefore you will have at some point in time downloaded some piece of film off your camera, you put your stills on the computer. Virtually everyone does that these days. It's as good a way as any of archiving and all the rest of it. But for relatively small sums of money, of course, we can all go out and buy very sophisticated professional pieces of recording software for the manufacturing of music. Okay, and all recording these days, to be perfectly honest, is computer system based. Okay, I do have a thing the size of an extremely large industrial cooker in my studio, which is an old-fashioned reel-to-reel 16-track tape machine, which I still use occasionally. But it is interesting going back to the old-fashioned manner of recording music, you know, because in relative terms it's just so slow, because the result, the debate will go on forever. My personal view is that the result is actually can be fantastic. You know, we've had 60, 70 years of analog recording, and we've only really had 15 absolute years of digital recording, you know, and most of the records that we know and love still to this day, those of us that are over 50, 55, will actually have been recorded in an analog medium and not a digital medium, you know. And without going too far down that road, there are many very big, sophisticated recording studios that still work in a mixed medium, where they have the ultimate supercomputers that, you know, you can record 300 tracks, simultaneous tracks of music at any one time, but they're still synchronized up to a 24-track reel-to-reel tape machine. And most of the bigger producers that I know who still work with that medium, interestingly, nearly always use the analogue side, the tape, old-fashioned side of recording to record things like drums and so on. And there is still this sort of consensus amongst producers and engineers that big, noisy, heavy drums record better and sound better in analogue. And certainly those of you who might have been into prog rock in the 70s, you know, when you occasionally make sure there's no one around and you dig out your Yes albums, and I know there's one or two of you here. That's right, your secret's safe with me. You know, and listen to some of that stuff. A lot of that drum recording is very precise, very good, but it's all in analogue, you know. So what you've got here is, here we go. Here is a virtual representation of the proverbial mixing console. You know, there's a little baby one down here, basically, we use for PA or recording. Here is a virtual representation of it, and this is all very exciting. This microphone is live here, so as you can see, and the gain's a bit high. I'm not going to use any compression or anything like that. There's quite a nice sound in this room. I'm going to turn the fan off. So I've got a bit of level there. So what we next need to do is create Can you hear that? Click track. So, it's come, it always defaults to 120 BPM. So that's too fast for that tune. It needs to be more or less the speed that it was being played at when that session was going on in the Saloon and Pegasus. So, stop. Let us tempo operations. We want to slow that down probably to about 100. So. It's a polka, by the way. So anyone has this uncontrollable urge to polka, you might have to do that there. Right, that's reasonable. So, it's a fairly good speed. I wish I'd done that multi-track recording session 2 years ago down here. I didn't know this was here, you see. I didn't know they had all the stuff. Because if you can see all this sort of stuff going on, it just sort of makes it a little bit clearer, even to me. So we do that. Now, obviously this is not a totally soundproof environment. You can just hear the click there coming through the headphones, which means therefore the headphones will be blisteringly loud. So I'm not going to run the loudspeaker whilst I'm actually recording, because I don't want to hear. All I want to hear is fiddle. So I have to do it on headphones. And as I suspected, it's exceedingly loud. Da 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 ba 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 da. Lose that. So it's wow. That's yeah. That's fairly deafening. So let's lose a bit of that. That's good. And not too much background noise. 1, 2, 3. With some slight variations there just to make it more interesting. So that's 3 times through the tune. So let's see what we actually got. So to give you an idea, that's what we just recorded. There it is in waveform. Fairly reasonable recording level, more than good enough for our particular purposes. So we'll move it over there, and we'll and nothing exciting happened. You actually made a mistake. Also, actually what's quite nice, it's not a perfect recording environment, but actually the acoustics in this space are quite nice. It's very natural. And I'm deliberately not using a clever or sensitive microphone. This is your bog standard SM57 dynamic microphone. You can buy one anywhere for 80 or 90 quid. Okay, so you get the idea. We have 3 times